Good morning, crypto warriors. Welcome back to Gym in the Crypto. Today is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'm King here to bridge the gap between the community and crypto every day, Monday through Friday at 10ish. I like to sing it. And we are live. My bad. And we are live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gentlemen of Crypto, episode 1334. And today is Friday, July 11, 2025. Of course, I'm King, here to bridge the gap between community and crypto, most days, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m.-ish. And today's top stories, Bitcoin, of course, hits new all-time high. They don't even have an article for it yet because it's bouncing around so much, believe it or not. So they have it earmarked at 112,000. Of course, we saw it go to 100 and I believe 19,000 last night, but we'll talk more about that. Of course, U.S. Republicans declare crypto week to mull 3 crypto bills. This is probably why we're getting a pump right now. U.S. Senate confirms ex-Bitfury exec to lead OCC banking regulator. Pump.fun token sale confirmed. Europe-based users barred Bybit. And Solana price bull chart targets $300 as Solana ETF approval odds hit 99.7. But first and foremost, of course, let's go ahead and take a quick look at these crypto prices. And while I'm doing it, since it has been like a week or so, let me go ahead and take a quick peek at these comments and make sure you all can hear me. There it is. I'm assuming you all can hear me. Great. Let's go ahead and get these prices rolling. Bitcoin is coming in super hot at $117,967, up 6.17%. But again, I believe we did hit 119K. You let me know in the comments. Ethereum's coming in number 2 at $2,995, up 7.5%. Of course, if Bitcoin does it, Ethereum wants to do it too. Finally, XRP, number 3, $2.76, up 13.6%. Number 5, BNB, $690, up 3%. Number 6, Solana, $165, up 5.55%. Number 8, Dogecoin at 20 cents, up 12.75%. Number 9, Tron is still kicking and ticking, 29 cents, up 2.29%. And number 10, Cardano said, I'm not leaving that easy at 74 cents, up 19.5%. Again, one thing you want to look at is when some of these tokens pump like this, when Bitcoin's pumping, it is not the token, right? It's not the project. They're doing it based off Bitcoin. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Get your money, right? Get your marbles, your Skrilla, your cheese, whatever. Get your scratch off of these pumps. But just know the likes of those like Cardano weren't really doing that well on their own before Bitcoin started pumping again. But here we are back in play. All right, with that being said, the Fear and Greed Index is at a 67. It's a 30 of 100 for altcoin season. So it looks like people are excited about that. Bitcoin is still pumping with its dominance at 63.6%, and Ethereum dominance is actually increased to 9.8% as well. Again, they're holding on. And while I won't be covering them today, Ethereum is using this opportunity, this Bitcoin pump opportunity, as a way to pump themselves. I'm seeing a ton of articles come out about Ethereum in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. Articles are talking about like, hey, well, Ethereum hit 3,000. The foundation's doing this. Oh, they got the new roll-ups coming out soon. All of a sudden, everything is about to start working for Ethereum as soon as Bitcoin pumps. You got to love it. But we are back in action. Want to give some quick shout outs to the chat. What up, though? I see everybody in the chat. Malcolm Rex, Morel, Steak Chill, Hidden Gangster. What up, though? Lord Smith, Mr. Gamble the Prince, BK Crypto. Let's see. Good morning. See, crazy that FG is still below 70. We're at the all-time high, and there's no bearish news. Oh, right. The Fear and Greed Index is below 70. Listen, all-time high. People still don't see it happening. It's happening slowly in front of them. Some people won't believe it or really acknowledge it until it's at 250 to 300K, but we are coming. But of course, let's talk Bitcoin price. A couple things. First, again, I said I wasn't really worried about things until we did start broaching that 120,000 to 130, 140,000 mark. For me, that was my retracement cycle, what I was looking for. A couple things. We hit it in a weird way. Remember, we kind of already talked about this. Essentially, we had an early pump when President Trump came into office, kind of died down, went sideways. As I said on the last show about 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, I'm still expecting the summer pump. We're right on schedule for a summer pump. And here we are. So with that being said, while I do think we'll still see that retracement, it may not happen to the end of summer, right? We might have another 6 weeks before we see it. 6 weeks of growth, and Bitcoin can go crazy then, anywhere from 119 to 145, 150K. But after that, I still do think we are in territory for a retracement. And I think you can kind of see that in the fear and greed index, right? Like it's not at 100. People aren't going crazy for the buys right now. People are still kind of sidelined trying to figure out what's happening. I think some of the stories today will give us a little bit more clarity. Again, next week is supposed to be quote unquote crypto week. So we'll be talking about that, and that may be actually affecting the price right now. But of course, I'm not doing it yet because I'm not about to be taking a shot every other day once we hit this all-time high. I think by Monday we will see what direction we're headed as far as, hey, we're going to go to 122, 121, or was just this the pump we needed, and it'll settle off and settle back down to 107, 108,000, 108,000. A couple things to keep in mind: the Bitcoin ETF buys have been at an all-time high right now. So if you're wondering, hey, what's pushing this cycle? The institutions are still heavily behind it for the most part. So that's a good thing. But again, we've seen the rotation, right? Uh, Next week's crypto week, we're about to talk about some of the policies that are coming down the pike, some of the things that will be discussed. Institutions are betting on that. So if any of these policies don't go through as expected, I would see and expect these same institutions that are pumping it right now to reduce their exposure, to pull back. And I think from there, we may see our first little dip. And that, of course, would be where we at 117, 118 right now, 118,000. We might just pull back to say 115, 114, right? So nothing crazy, but enough to kind of cool off everything before we hit this 120 to 140 kind of area where we're really in danger of a real retracement. But let's go ahead and take a peek at some of these articles that go in detail about it. And shout out to Alec G for sending us that Pump.fun article in the Discord a few days ago. We'll be covering that as well because, yes, that is still a top story out there. Uh, Bitcoin sourced a new all-time high above 112K as traders liquidate shorts. Again, Cointelegraph is in the same boat as me as far as like the price movement is happening too fast right now. So again, we'll take a shot next week once we settle in on what this new all-time high officially is. The articles can't even keep up with it. I saw yesterday they did about 3 or 4 different articles every time the price pumped again. And then finally at 112,000, they're like, all right, man, look, it's above 112K. That's the article for the all-time high. We'll move from there. So I'm expecting to see more articles covering all-time highs by the end of today. But as of now, most of them has it earmarked at 112, 113,000, as that's when the day ended, when a lot of these articles were being pumped out. So again, Bitcoin has soared to another record high, driven by global investor demand for risk assets and a $200 million liquidation of Bitcoin shorts near a critical overhead resistance level. That's right. And again, I actually understand those shorts, but to me, they're a little bit too early. Again, I'm looking not necessarily what I shorted, but if I were to short Bitcoin, I'm looking in that 120,000 to 140,000 area. In fact, now that we're so comfortably at 117,000, I will almost push. I can almost reduce that and say I'm looking even really more at 127,000 up, 127,000 to 140. Like we're going to kind of hit 125, 127,000. We're right around the corner. Essentially, it could happen in another week and a half, 2 weeks. So my money's banking on now, let's say 127,000 to 140, 150, to where you can see that possible retraction happen. And again, we're going to be talking about some of the laws and policies coming down the pike, and that I think will have a huge effect on it. But yes, the Bears got spizanked, as Alec G just said, is looking terrible for the Bears out there. A lot, and that's the thing about Bitcoin and crypto, right? Like any other market, what goes up must goes down. There's a yin and yang to everything. So, as many people who are excited who made money this last 24 to 48 hours, there are a lot of people who lost their life savings who are like, I mean, it's over, right? Like their trading journey is over. They have to restart. Time to go back to the 9 to 5, stack up, and come back strong again. Like just as many people thought this thing was going to be shorted, and they tried to, and they were slapped for it as well. So again, price surpassed $112,000 all-time high for the first time on Wednesday after rising 5.95% during the past week. It looks like it helps the total market, crypto market cap, recapture the $3.47 trillion level seen last June in 2025, so a month ago. And the crypto market's value remains below the all-time high of 3.73 trillion recorded in December of 2024. So something to look at right there. Is that, would that be considered trillion or billion? But it was 3.47 trillion a month ago, and last year in December we are at 3.7 trillion for overall crypto market cap. So to me, there's still a lot of juice to be squeezed, right? When it comes to the total crypto market capitalization, the question will be, hey, will that money flow into Bitcoin, or will we see that flow into the more into the Ethereum maxis, or we'll be covering today Solana. People are starting to go over to Pump.fun. Where will that extra market cap go? But I tell you one thing for sure, it's not going to disappear. It is coming back again. I do think a lot of that was institutional, but that's a lot of money on the table. What is that? Was it for $3 billion, right? Is that $3 billion? Am I doing that right? It's about $3 billion on the table, or is that $300 billion? I don't know. A ton of money is on the table, folks. So there's a lot of market cap left to be explored. I think we'll see some of that flow back into Bitcoin here in the next few weeks. It was really crazy. Someone already mentioned the fear and greed index. There's still a lot of people who's looking at the price and not believing it right now. Hence the reason why we have so many bears getting spanked, right? There's still a lot of people looking at the price and they're going, no, 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 no. I still don't believe Bitcoin can be this crazy. It's funny you say that. Hyben17 said, can someone please check on Peter Schiff? Peter Schiff was actually in the news again, saying that you should sell, like, now is the perfect time to sell your Bitcoin for silver or something. So he's still in the news. He's still singing the same tune. One thing I will say about the folks like Peter Schiff is that they don't stop, right? It's to the point we know how crazy it is to even back these folks. But hey, they have a side. There's still people who think this is fake. There's still people who think this is a scam. Sitting at 119,000, they still say this isn't real. So it is what it is. It's one of those things where I don't know, you just got stumped out and you got up and you got back talking smack again. Like, I don't believe it. It's like, no, it really happened. It really did happen this time. But so that's Bitcoin all-time high. All is looking good on the horizon as of now, if next week goes as planned. So we'll be talking about that here in a moment. It says Bitcoin's price momentum is benefiting from a reset and over leveraged participants that create a healthier foundation for continuation. Analysts from Bitfinex Exchange told Cointelegraph, adding, quote, the convergence between on-chain accumulation and off-chain exchange order flow paints a compelling picture. This rally has been built on solid ground, supported by real capital flows rather than short-lived speculative leverage. This is what that means to me. Actually, I'll finish it. To maintain a constructive outlook for the coming weeks, this pattern of spot buyer dominance must persist, explained the analyst. All right, I'm going to break this one down because this actually is important really quick. First, I want to make sure you all keying in on something. This is Bitfinex. This is an old exchange telling us why this pump essentially happened. And they're saying that, hey, it's a reset of, they're calling it a reset of over leveraged participants, right? And they added that is being backed and supported by real capital flows rather than that short-lived speculative leverage, as you can see here. Let me make sure I got this blowing up on the screen. What does this mean? What are they talking about? I'll tell you what they're talking about. They're talking about the games they've been playing in the background and how they're able to almost encourage the price rise simultaneously. What do I mean? Well, the supported by real capital flows rather than short-lived speculative leverage means that these are the institutions, because the real capital flows aren't coming from the retail investors, especially not on Bitfinex, right? There isn't a slew of retail investors that just woke up on Wednesday and was like, hey, let's just buy a bunch of Bitcoin on Bitfinex. That is not what happened. What they're saying is, hey, we're looking at the market, we're analyzing it, and the money is coming from institutional players like BlackRock, who are buying Bitcoin for, of course, the Bitcoin ETFs, or Strategy. Where I don't know their new, is it Strategy's the new name with Michael Saylor? Same deal. They're putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets. This is what they mean by supported by real capital flows rather than what? Short-lived speculative leverage. What is short-lived speculative leverage? As they already say, the reset and over leveraged participants. These are the people who went the opposite of Bitcoin. These are the folks who either went long when they should have went short and got liquidated, or shorted as they just did recently when they should have went long and got liquidated as well. One thing I want you to key on and remember, the exchange can liquidate you when they want to, right? Granted, you have to fall between certain indicators and things of this sort, but the exchange will essentially bet against you. So if you have an exchange, for example, like Bitfinex, and you're already getting a ton of institutional money in now you really can afford to play the game, right? Oftentimes in the past, the reason why the exchanges wouldn't just wildly bet against you is because hey, they know we will not only like we'll lose customers as soon as we do it, right? The exchange is like if we liquidate all these bears or we liquidate all the bulls all at one time, that is like you're cleaning house. That might be someone's entire portfolio, all their trading money, everything they have left. Once you liquidate them, they are gone forever, right? They may not be able to recover. So I think exchanges, as time has progressed, they have been kind of careful with that, with their own algorithms and indicators to ensure that the entire platform isn't getting liquidated at once. However, they do have the power to do it. They do have the power to go into their own exchange. I've showed you all this in classes before. I think I've even showed you live, and where it's just like you can look at the order charts. You can see who's betting against Bitcoin. You can see who's betting for Bitcoin. We were talking about longs and shorts, and ask the exchange. You can change your algorithms and your indicators, or even use your own money as the exchange and say, hey, let's just buy a bunch of Bitcoin right now, right? Well, we got $200 billion in shorts. Let's go behind the scenes. Let's use 100 million of our own money to buy Bitcoin up to what, 3 to 7% to liquidate all these fools, get our money back, right? Because you can't keep it. This wasn't your money to begin with. This is exchanges money. It probably belongs to other people. You get the money back as Bitcoin settles, which we're seeing right now, but it's already too late for the people who got liquidated. So to me, this is Bitfinex almost telling us to our face, hey, yeah, we just reset it over leveraged positions. They're saying Bitcoin's price momentum is benefiting from a reset, but essentially they're saying, yes, us and other exchanges decided to reset over leveraged participants, whether you're over leveraged, shorting it or longing it, this time being a short, they decided to tax you, right? Lonzo and training day. This is an old account. You all won't miss them at all. Not only that, if I'm not there, who's going to watch over them, right? They had to go and liquidate a ton of people simultaneously, as well as getting that ETF money at the same time. And boom, you have a perfect cycle for an all-time high. But I do want to kind of key in on this is some of the reason why, and it's kind of interesting to see an exchange come out with this verbiage. But again, if you can read in between the lines, they're essentially saying exchanges reset it over leveraged participants, and this capital and this pump right now is now being supported by real capital flows. This is also something very telling. Also, they're saying that hey, we're not relying on the retail traders anymore. We're not relying on bears trying to short the market or bulls trying to long the market or these over leveraged positions. We're not relying on that on our exchanges. It's like, yeah, we'll take the money from the trade volume, but the moment it's time to put the, what's the saying? Put the pavement to the metal to the road or something. I don't know. Yeah, give me the thing. One of those sayings. When the rubber meets the road, there it is. When the rubber meets the road, they're saying, hey, we will choose institutions over all our traders if that's the game. Because right now that institutional money is too sweet to turn down. Why these over leveraged positions, as they're calling it, is something that can just simply be reset on our own exchanges. So I think exchanges had a big play in this all-time high as well, as did a lot of politics, which we're about to roll into also. Humney, what's the word? Humney said, so now with Bitcoin, we are at a weird stage where the people, us, have control of the infrastructure of Bitcoin, but the institutions, them, they have control of the supply, or am I trim? No, I think that's a good way to kind of um, I would agree. I would agree because right now, a lot of normal people, quote unquote, right, developers and things of the sort, they do have control of a lot of these new projects, a lot of these new dexes. A lot of the institutions are still trying to copycat these or buy them outright. So I actually would agree with that sentiment where it's like, hey, yeah, a lot of the people are still in control of the infrastructure. And I would even go as far as say the average person, the retail investor, you and I, we're still in control of the market as a whole. It just so happens that uh, the market is being looked at in different ways, essentially, right? Some people are now saying institutions are good, ETFs are good. Some people are saying, hey, what Coinbase is doing, how their growth is happening is good. That's a large part of the market. A lot of people are still on Coinbase. So I would say that, yes, there is still a lot of power in retail investors. However, the voting power is going one direction, and it seems to be going in the institutional's favor. And with that, they're taking that power and running and going crazy, buying things, rebranding things, and taking over narrative. So right now, I would agree to that. But it is slowly starting to diverge as well. Kendra D, good morning from Nashville. What up, though, Tennessee? Miss Tennessee, I haven't been in a while. All right, let's go and get into The meat of this next week is what's being considered crypto week. U.S. Republicans declare crypto week to mull 3 crypto bills. I'm trying to see if they have the actual dates here. Okay, it is. All right. I want to make sure they have the dates in this article before I start getting to it. U.S. Republican leaders say the House will look to pass bills on stablecoins, crypto market structure, and CBDCs in mid July in what they dubbed Crypto Week. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind for this. Uh, these institutions and essentially the federal government right now are playing dirty, right? This is a gangster party. I said it before. It is a real gangster party out here. No one's doing the right thing. No one's playing fair. There's a bunch of dirty stuff going on. I say that to say this. If Bitcoin pumped this week, a week before this crypto week is happening, all these laws are being mulled. If it pumped this week and you have an exchange saying this isn't a retail pump, we just reset over leveraged positions. This is an institutional pump, then that means the institutions know something that's going to happen next week that we don't, right? Either they fully know it or they're just being crazy with their capital and they're saying we're just going to gamble essentially. I highly doubt their analysts are gambling. I think they know something. But if they are gambling, we could see a huge dip by the end of next week, right? A week and a half. If whatever crypto bills and laws they're trying to push doesn't come to fruition, and these institutions have voted wrong, then we can see an immediate dip. And about what's today? Friday. Next Friday will be realized by, let's say, Monday or Tuesday. So 7, 8, 9, 10. In 10 days, we could see a realized dip back to 108, 107,000 if next week doesn't go as planned. However, my thing is if all these institutions are betting on next week to go well, and they've already placed their bets, essentially, we hit this all-time high, and there is a very strong chance that next week may go off without a hitch. But let's get into it. What exactly is going on this crypto week? And what is the U.S. GOP actually considering here? Again, this is U.S. Republican House leaders. They pledged to consider 3 key crypto bills starting in mid-July as part of a regulatory crypto week. I actually like the idea of this, by the way, too, because if this is going to be a new yearly thing, we call it like crypto week, as a regulatory cycle, blah, 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 then you can almost always assume there'll be a pump or a dip around this time, depending on what the sentiment is with the new laws and legislation that's being passed down. That's very important because it gives us another indicator to use when trending and charting from past events in these cycles. So this could be good for the market. They say, hey, every July, we're going to start doing this crypto week. That could be good because you could do a conference around that. Like you could do conferences around it. There's so much content you could do around a quote unquote crypto week when we have our actual DC lawmakers looking at bills and making things happen simultaneously as content being created around it. So this could be good for Bitcoin in general in the coming years, where people always can expect, hey, crypto week's coming, it's going to pump. They're going to be passing this X, Y, and Z. But again, this is House Finance Committee Chair French Hill, House Agriculture Committee Chair Glenn Thompson, and Speaker Mike Johnson said on Thursday that they use the week of July 14th to 18th to look over crypto market structure bill, a stablecoin bill, and a bill on central bank digital currency. So these are some big bills. Again, a crypto market structure bill, a stablecoin bill, and a bill on central bank digital currencies. You better believe institutions are betting on these bills. House Republicans are taking decisive steps to deliver the full scope of President Trump's digital assets and cryptocurrency agenda. That's the pump right there, folks. During Crypto Week, the House looks forward to the timely consideration of 3 landmark pieces of legislation: the Clarity Act, which we discussed, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, which will be huge, and the Senate's Genius Act. Of course, we've talked about that as well when it comes to stable coins and the like being put into the United States. This comes as a push, as last month President Trump said that he wants stable coin regulated Genius Act passed as soon as possible before Congress goes on a month-long break in August. Key thing here as well. If they do go on this month-long break, well, they are, but once they go on this month-long break, I will say this: I think August 10th, don't clock me, but clock me. August 10th to August 13th, there's usually a pump right there. If this goes off without a hitch next week, you could see August with a lot of sideways movement, if not the retraction there to where we go to September and then get crazy again with those pumps going into the holiday season. And then, of course, in January for the New Year's, we always have a pump for Bitcoin's white paper birthday, Bitcoin's birthday, things of the sort. So if that were to happen, I would say mark your calendars for January 1st for having what 100. I mean, easily 100 and we go sideways August, start picking it up September, October. You can have 140, $150,000 Bitcoin by January 1st. If the retracement happens in August already. So something kind of keep an eye on right there. The bills will begin to deliver on Trump's crypto-focused promises during his campaign, which the crypto industry heavily backed and bankrolled. Genius considered overstable. The House is seemingly moving ahead with the Senate-led Genius Act over its own similar bill known as the Stable Act, which the House Finance Committee passed in May, but has yet to see a full floor vote. The Senate passed the Genius Act with bipartisan support last month, meaning if the House passes the bill as is, it'll be sent to Trump to sign the law. If I remember correctly, the House is being led by a majority Republicans. So if that is the case, more than likely they're going to be playing ball with President Trump again. I know some of you love him, some of you hate him, but it is what it is right now. He's swinging, I don't want to say 100%, but he's swinging like 90 something percent. He's getting done, or he's getting what he wants out of the United States right now, and he's getting done what he wants. So I don't see that being slowed down or stifled. I do think that's why we're following this smart money this week, where these institutions are pumping into it. I think they're also expecting the House to, for the very least, the Genius Act to pass. You got to remember that passes. That's going to, I believe, that's going to allow stable coins here in the U.S. And once that happens, I mean, like they're saying that, hey, this is how we're going to keep the US dollar the most powerful currency in the world still. So they are definitely banking on stable coins to come in and to really have institutions help take over the market using them as well. A notable difference between the bills is around oversight, as the Stable Act stipulates strict federal oversight of stablecoin issuers, while the Genius Act allows for state supervision. So again, um, I will say right now, I can see it being a federal thing, but by and large, it wouldn't surprise me if he made it a state thing either. Because when you look at other policies that have been pushed and passed by President Trump in the past, didn't mean say past many times, but something like what is it? Like I'm trying to think of the thing, abortion rights, right? They took abortion rights out of the federal government and they placed it back into the state governments. That's just one example, but it's a very important topic that a lot of people care about. My point is, if they're doing that with something socially like abortion rights, what do you think they're going to do with Bitcoin and crypto? Now, again, the federal government could say, "No, that's ours. We're gonna we're gonna keep that. We're gonna keep our hands on this one and do it ourselves." The Genius Act, but it wouldn't surprise me for them to say, fine, we'll put this back into the hands of the states as well with the Stable Act. My only pushback against that is that a lot of states right now do not like the federal government. California, being one I'm in, clearly doesn't like the federal government. That would kind of be the reason they say, you know what, we're going to go Genius. We're going to go federal government, stable coins, and then in the next 4 to 5 years, we'll relinquish it back to the states after we've already kind of made a stamp and statement on what stable coins will be in America. On the flip side, if they started with the states right now saying, hey, states, you're allowed to have stable coins and do what you want, I think you would see states like California for sure say, you know what? Well, we don't like what the federal government is doing when it comes to I don't know, sending federal agents to one of the shittiest parks in LA and then complaining about it on national news. The agents should have went to MacArthur Park. I'm for it, okay? MacArthur Park is crazy. I'm up the street, okay? They were right. Listen, seriously, that could be something as simple as that. If you all haven't been keeping up in the news, ICE agents went to a park the other day, made national news. It's crazy, blah, blah, blah. But little things like that had the Governor Newsom for California, come out and speak against the president. They had the mayor come out and speak against the president. Could you imagine if they had their own stable coin in the state as well? That would be a lot of friction between the federal government and the states. You look at a state like Florida getting one, you look at a state like Texas getting one, California, all these kind of states that have these independent mindsets. I don't see it mulling over well with the federal government right now. So those are the reasons where I'm like, I could see it going toward the federal government at least for the next 3 to 4 years. And then once this president is gone, then the federal government would say, all right, now the states can do it. But again, this was the same president that I believe that reduced the abortion rights to the states. And that's a very powerful and prominent thing as well. So it would not come as a big surprise if he followed suit doing this. But again, the only reason I don't really see it happening is because a lot of states are beefing with the federal government right now. Let's see, a crypto market structure bill called Clarity Act. The Clarity Act could be next on Trump desk after the House Financial Services Committee and the Agricultural Committee advanced it on June 10th to put it on the full House. The bill, which still needs to pass the Senate, again, Republican led, stipulates the jurisdiction that the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodities and Future and Trading Commission have over crypto. This is something that, and see, I'm not going to do a full rant today. I'll be back next week on Monday. So we're going to have a lot of shows next week. Listen, I'm back. It's exciting. I told you, I was just waiting for the excitement to come back. I won't go into full detail as I just literally lock myself out my laptop. Hilarious. I keep telling you, if I scroll a certain way with my mouse, that's all I say. My laptop automatically locks up. I just locked it up. You ain't going Ross Ulbricht me, okay? If I sneeze the wrong way, this laptop lock up on your ass. It just locked up that quick. I scrolled the wrong way and it's locked up. What was I saying? This has been an ongoing debate and issue now, like legitimately for 9 years, right? I got in the crypto market in 2016. I started seeing this already, and that's the SEC and the CFTC. They have been jockeying for position in the crypto market for I don't know how many years. Shout out to Reggie Middleton. I still got to get that talk to you to get what's going on right now with you and the SEC, or very Taysom in the SEC. But what I will say is this: the SEC, and of course, it has already been course corrected by this incoming or this administration that's here now. But before this administration, of course, we all know the SEC was running wild. They were extorting different crypto companies. The CFTC working with the FTC or SEC were doing things like Operation Choke Point, making sure banks weren't banking crypto companies, things of the sort, right? They were doing all these illegal and immoral moves toward the crypto market. Why? Because 5 of their constituents, who are the biggest bankers on the planet, said they don't like it or whatever. So it's like they've already done so much damage. It's interesting to see that 9 years later, after a lot of damage, they're like, okay, now let's actually put into legislation who has what rights in the crypto market. So you mean to tell me they've been operating almost the last decade without clear guidance and instruction, just doing whatever they want, and most people got away with it. And I'm not gonna say everybody, because again, love them or hate them, at least you got to shout out President Trump for the crypto market stuff and getting rid of all those folks at the SEC, CFTC, and others who are going after the market. Remember, the top cop at the SEC works on the IT desk now, okay? He's trying to figure out how to get the Wi-Fi password connected in the basement, trying to figure out what happened to his red stapler. He's out of there. All right, he's out of there. The CFTC, if I remember, one of them resigned. They started quitting. They're like 9 of them quit. One of these agencies, you had a whole mass of them quitting. Good riddance. Good riddance to you. We don't need you, right? Your anti-crypto be gone. Should be gone. Spray it. So essentially, this is actually good things. But again, I want to key in on this article right now where they're saying, hey, we're finally, after all these years, we're finally about to say what the SEC has jurisdiction over and what the CFTC has jurisdiction over. Again, if it were me and some of my companies that went out of business, I would be trying to do a class action lawsuit against the American government for the way they disrupted so many projects, right? Library credits needs to get with Veritasium, who needs to get with XYZ, 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 and do a class action lawsuit against the government. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But until then, the government is finally saying, hey, yes, we're figuring out the way forward. And again, if you remember, one thing I said when Trump took office, as far as what he's doing with crypto and the way this is moving, I think, and we're already seeing it when it comes to the immigration laws and policies, how the Supreme Court is like, hey, he can do what he wants right now. I told you all the same thing for crypto. I think he's going to make it so ironclad that when the next administration comes, if it's the polar opposite of this administration, they won't be able to undo it immediately. In fact, they might not be able to undo it before they leave. And that's if they have a full 8 years. It might take them 6 years to begin to undo some of the things he's doing in the crypto space. So I would say that is a very good sign. It's protecting people in this space. And again, I want you to remember why. It's not because he wants to make the market better and blah, blah, blah. It's because him and his wife got a bunch of crypto, okay? We just saw the story the other day where it came out, Melania's Trump coin was stream sniped for $21 million. And it's like, who didn't see that one coming, right? I wonder where all the money went. So it's one of those things where they have meme coins, they have money in crypto, they have capital in crypto. They're trying to figure out how to hide it, move it, and keep it to themselves as well. And the best way to do that is to create legislation around it to protect it. So I don't think he's doing it for us. I think we're benefiting from it, but the protections are still happening. Again, this is the which one is this? This is the Clarity Act one. This is going to give us guidance on the SEC, CFTC. It will require most types of crypto exchanges to register with the CFTC and lays out rules for disclosure, customer asset segregation, and record keeping. Again, essentially making exchanges banks. But if you remember, they will not be touching the DeFi side of the house as well. So again, this is good because the DeFi and the DEXs will continue to flourish. Those who want to do the right thing and go on the, quote unquote, and go on the actual exchanges, regular exchanges, you'll have that option as well. You'll just have to register the same way you do banks. And I mean, let's be honest, it is what it is, folks. I'm getting letters from all the agencies and everything. They talking about old stuff. I don't want to talk about old stuff, right? Then they say slavery was old and is over with. Well, that's how I feel about crypto and taxes in 2016. 2016, wait, getting letters about 26. I don't know nothing about no. I'm getting prepared for 2026. I don't know nothing about no 2016. All right. But my point is they are trying to come down hard. So we'll see what happens with some of these policies. And the last bill, of course, will be for the House. We'll consider is the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, which has an identical bill in the Senate in a bid to speed up the legislative process. The bill will prohibit the Federal Reserve from being able to test, develop, create, or issue digital currency in any form and stop the central bank from offering financial products directly to individuals. Now, I will say this bill, in addition to the Genius or Stable Act, could essentially put the power into the hands of the states. And again, the knock on that, and one of the reasons that may happen is so that you don't get the Federal Reserve taking over everything. And again, why would the president want this? I think he does want it to be a federal coin, a federal stable coin. But the only reason, well, not only, I laid out a couple, another primary reason that this could go back to the states is because if you remember, the federal government once again was messing with his money. How did Trump get into Bitcoin? Let's ask ourselves. Do we remember? He got into Bitcoin because after the last his last presidency and he got put out or wherever he left the White House, they were trying to sue him in every direction. They were trying to impeach him to make sure he doesn't come back. And they were working with banks, institutions, and the federal government to block his money, to stop his flow of funds. They were trying to do him like the Canadians did the truckers. They was like, y'all can do whatever you want, just don't give this man no money. Who was behind that? The Federal Reserve, the central bank. These are the people who are in charge of the banks. You got to remember, he's not no, hey, this ain't no regular. See, you can't treat him like a regular, okay? Like he wasn't going to the bank talking about, let me pull out $500. No, he's going to the bank talking about, I'm trying to store 2 to 300 million. You can't just play with people money like that. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think personally, this could be one of the impetus to make him say, you know what? As much as I want this to have federal control and federal whatever, and as much as I know, if I give states like California their own, pathway to a stable coin, they could do the opposite of what the federal government want. He still could go that direction just off the strength of this act right here, saying, you know what? I'd rather the states have it than the Federal Reserve, the central banks, and these private companies have it and start extorting the American public again. Why? Not for the good of the American people, but because he becomes a part of the American public as well. So if he makes a big stablecoin act and blah, 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 that will give the Federal Reserve, central bank, and everyone else essentially a way to continue to block him and continue to slow him down if he were to do anything with his crypto versus if he were to say, hey, these are going to be state stable coins. And once they are state stable coins, let me just go to a state I'm friends with and start transferring all this Trump coin, all this millennia coin to that stable coin, and we rolling, right? If that's under the federal control and the central bank or the Federal Reserve has that control and he tries to do the same thing, they can say, oh, okay, we can just, hey guys, this is Trump meme coin money. We can just freeze it for you right now. So that could be a possible reason as well. But this bill was introduced in the last Congress by House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Shout out to Tom Emmer. You know what? If anybody deserves a crypto nickname, it's Tom Emmer. Tom been standing 10 toes for crypto and Bitcoin. But it expired at the end of that Congress term after it passed the House May 2024. Emmer revived the bill in the current Congress, and the House Finance Committee passed its version of the bill in April, while the Senate version is still sitting in the Chamber's Banking Committee. So again, these are the three bills. This is happening next week, and they all have huge implications, right? You're talking about one bill will give the ability to states or the federal government to possibly create stablecoins or stop it from happening. You're going to have another bill that's going to give us guidance, finally, for the SEC and CFTC. Yeah. So that's going to be a huge one as well. Then last but not least was that last bill from Tom Emmer, where they're going to be looking at what is it? I'm forgetting already. Let's see. Oh, where they're going to be looking at it to ban CBDCs from the Federal Reserve or the central bank. So three big bills, right? One, do we even get stable coins, federal or state? Two, SEC, CFTC, what direction they're going to go? And then three, will the Federal Reserve and central bank retain their banking powers they've had essentially, I don't know how many hundreds of years here in the United States, or will it finally come to an end? I'll tell you what, if next week he prohibits the Federal Reserve and the central bank from getting their hands on a stable coin. Oh, folks, some of your wet dreams might come true. It might be a JFK day soon because now, ooh, hold on. Now you're messing with the next 200 years of my business, son. Like that's what's about to happen. Those are the conversations that are about to happen this weekend. I need y'all to understand that. The federal, you are crazy. If you don't think all these folks from the Federal Reserve, I saw Jamie Dimon in the news again. Oh my goodness, Jamie Dimon's back in the news cycle. You are crazy. You don't think the bankers are about to get together this weekend and say, I mean, we ain't gonna say nothing but if you pass that thing the wrong way, listen, it might be a problem in political land and Trump land in the next week or so. Okay, all of a sudden he's getting sick and diarrhea and pneumonia. I don't know. Watch out for the heart attacks. He's an old guy. They might make it look natural, but I'm telling you for a fact, you are about to play with the next 100 to 200 years of a company's money that's been in control for the last 100 to 200 years. If you think next week goes off without like any type of issues or unscathed, and that's on the chopping block, you're crazy, which is why I say I will see you all Monday. I think next week's going to be an exciting week in the news week. And then the following week after that, it should be just as exciting once we see the fallout and what's going to happen. So a lot of exciting things. And these are the reasons why crypto is pumping right now. Again, they even said from Bitfinex, this isn't coming from retail markets or over leveraged traders. This is coming from the institutions. And that's because the institutions, to me, I think are in lock and step when it comes to these regulators, the Senate right now, politicians and the bankers all at one time. And this is what their analysts came up with. They said it's time to pump it. So we shall see what happens. Let me check out some comments real quick and see what's going on. Let's see. Lord said we don't own infrastructure anymore. Huge companies own mining. That is true. But what I will say is a lot of the huge companies aren't creating the platforms and the structures that actually use the stuff we get from mining. That's Bitcoin. So I would still say we have some balance with it. Once you start seeing the federal government backing and creating exchanges or dexes and stuff like that, or even like BlackRock, right? Once you see the first legitimate BlackRock exchange or whatever, which they probably already have one, we just don't know about, right? Which ones are they backing? But once you see that, I think that's when we officially lose it. But right now, I mean, because look, at the end of the day, even though it's a public company, Coinbase, and actually Brian Armstrong's coming to LA next week. I got an invite for the thing. I need to tell them today if I want to go. He's coming to LA next week to speak, but he's still like he's an individual person. He decided to go public, but before he went public, that was his company, him and his partner. So to me, that still shows control, right? It's like, well, BlackRock, you can't duplicate a Coinbase. You can buy it, you can stake it, get some stake into it, which they all did when it went public. But it's like you don't own it. That's still Brian Armstrong. Well, now it's a public company, but you get what I'm saying. So that's why I said it's still a lot of retail in there as well. Let's not forget Coinbase started retail. They just became institution. They became an institution, right? Humney said, can't wait until the institutions fall from over leveraging one day. They think that the market is the same as traditional, but forgetting the tech has control. And that's what I agree with too, which is why I say it's still a retail market. Um, and I agree. The companies, the institutions, we said this before. I think this is what's going to be part of the retracement. Like at the moment Bitcoin is due for a healthy retracement, which is coming, and they over leverage, you might see a wealth capital house or a bank essentially go out of business overnight unless the federal government decides to save them. So we shall see. We'll keep looking. I will say most of them aren't putting enough capital to super over leverage themselves. They're putting enough in to embarrass themselves, right? If they lost 200 million, even a billion for some of these companies, but they're not putting in enough to kill themselves. They're just doing it enough to embarrass themselves. So right now they're good. But yes, if the greed continues, I could see it happening to where, again, a wealth capital company or a venture capital company or something like that over leverages and gets slapped as well. Let's see. After a while, it'd probably be priced in if they did it regularly, if they decided to. Okay. We could run a BIP, Bitcoin improvement proposal. that locks usage of a good percent of this super mine Bitcoin and slow the supply and get a wicked and really get wicked. But that's just one random dramatic case that could happen. And that's the cool thing, right? There's so many different things that can happen right now that could put Bitcoin in a totally different direction, whether you're going to pump aggressively or dip aggressively as well. Let's see. I'm sure. Yeah, that's true. How many say I'm sure Satoshi didn't think people would start building GPU machines and pooling to mine Bitcoin. It was intended for a more global supply and release of the coin. That's well too the gamification of the market, right? Where people are trying to figure out the best way to get as much back to be efficient in the market. Shout out to Jake Fever as well. Jake Fever been and the Discord going crazy. I mean, he's been talking about the pump happening. So shout out to Jake. He is 10 toes down plus 10 fingers when it comes to Bitcoin. Price prediction, say, bro, price prediction way. You think Bitcoin is rocketing? I don't know what you said, Jake. Jake must be drinking right now. Jake is drinking. He said something about the Bitcoin rocketing. William Clark, I think we're in a different space now. Like Saylor been saying, all models are broken. The liquidity is going in. You know, BlackRock and the rest is going parabolic, I believe. I agree with you. I do agree with you. The key here is though, is to keep it into Bitcoin or keep it in the crypto. This cash settlement thing, going back to cash, going back to cash, going back to cash, that could be something that could kind of stifle the market for a little bit. So we got to pay attention to that. All right. Let's see. Trump is not going to save these banks. Great point. Listen, if any bank gets in trouble right now, if any bank over leverages or gets in trouble, they're going down. Yeah, I don't think there'll be no too big to fail coming from him. He gonna be like, nah, good luck. Price Cobbs is calling a fall down the stairs at the White House. Listen, if next week by on Friday they say, hey, it's just in breaking news, the Federal Reserve and Central Bank has no control over stable coins or what direction we're going with that. Oh, he wanted to take an afternoon swim. He slipped. Everybody like, we never seen him swim before. Well, today he did. He's like, okay. Let's see. Hello, chat. I'm from the moon, and I can see XRP approaching. Oh man, y'all are being crazy right now. All right. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump into the last few stories of the day. This one was interesting. Why? Because it's happened so many times. U.S. Senate confirms ex Bitfury exec to lead OCC banking regulator. This is funny because this guy was already a banking regulator, of course, made up a bunch of BS rules and laws and regulations. Then he went to go work for crypto companies, of course. Hey guys, I know how to beat all these rules and regulations I created. And now he's going right back into banking. Like this has to be illegal. There has to be something that says at least a 2-year, 3-year non-compete clause. You cannot keep jumping from being a regulator to playing the game. Could you imagine? That's like almost like if this is a sports league, right? This is a sports league. It's almost like you being the freaking what's the main person in the sports like of the NBA? The commissioner, the chairman, right? Like you're the head of the sports league, you're the chairman, you're the commissioner, you make all the rules for the sports league, right? You say, well, this is what a double dribble is going to be now. This is what this is going to be. Your team can only spend this much money, blah, blah, blah. You make up a bunch of rules and moves for your sports league, and then you go work for one team. Soon as you make up other rules, you say, all right, I'm done making up rules. Now let me go work for this team to show them how to get around these rules. And then after working for that team for 3 or 4 years and showing them how to get around all the rules, you go back to become the commissioner chairman just so you can make up more new rules that everyone's going to have to abide by. Let me ask you this. Do you think he'll ever quit and go back to the private sector? Yes, this man might spend another 2 to 3 years here and come right back out to a $10, $20 million contract. And the scary part and the slippery slope about it is, hey, who's to say now that he's coming back from a team, he doesn't go back to the chairman spot and say, hey, I'm about to create new rules and regulations that will help this specific team or these specific teams now. It's not going to be for the entire industry. It's not going to be for everybody. But the team I was just playing for, and the next teams that hope to hire me, these are for you, bud. So that's the problem with this thing of going back and forth of just saying today I'm a regulator, tomorrow I'm an actual a crypto or Bitcoin enthusiast in the market. Like you can't keep jumping back and forth. Actually, I stand corrected. It looks like you can. Jonathan Gold, I don't know how to pronounce that, will return to the OCC as controller of the currency to serve a 5-year term following his nomination by U.S. President Donald Trump. And it looks like he was actually counsel for Trump to begin with in his last presidency, which is probably more than likely why he's bringing him back. Jonathan Gold, who previously worked as the chief legal officer of blockchain infrastructure company Bitfury, the chief legal officer. That's what I'm saying. You you get to make laws and regulations, and then you go work as the chief legal officer for a company. That is absolutely insane. Has been confirmed as the head of the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency (OCC) following a Senate vote and a 50 to 45 vote. I know who the 45 folks were in the U.S. Senate on Thursday. A majority of lawmakers voted to confirm Gold to head the banking regulator. In addition to his work at Bitfury, Gold is a partner at the Cleveland-based law firm Jones Day and served as the OCC's senior deputy controller and chief counsel from 2018 to 2021. Shout out to him for hustling everywhere. My man said, I'm a partner at a Cleveland-based law firm. I'm a regulator that makes the rules, and I work at a crypto company that uses said rules that I make. Woo wee, what a trifecta. America, folks. Gold's nomination was the latest from U.S. President Trump to be addressed by the Senate since the president took office in January. The chamber has previously voted to confirm Trump's pick to head the U.S. Securities SEC, Paul Atkins, and is expected to take up a vote for Brian Quintus to chair the CFTC soon. So there you have it. He's back in the OCC. You see Brian Brooks here. If you remember Brian Brooks, another guy who did the exact same thing, worked as the OCC and then went to go work as the chief legal officer for Coinbase, right? The CEO of Binance.us also went to join the board of strategy, directors at strategy. But that's what we're looking at, folks. This is now a revolving door, the same way you saw in banks. It is official. It's happening in crypto. Of course, I'm not going to ever forget rat face Benjamin Lansky, a guy who made the bit license, made everybody in New York have to get a bit license. And then after he made it, quit and went to go work for a company. Actually, he started his own consulting firm that taught companies how to get bit licenses before he went to go officially take a contract with the company to show them how to get said bit license he created. And I think in his whole inception, they only gave out like 20 of those things for the entire state. Okay. So that's what we're dealing with now. We are now looking at a revolving door. OCC, I expect the same from the SEC. You just saw Mr. Burns leave the SEC and go back to his college to teach. Like the revolving doors are going to be there. It is happening. If any type of legislation needs to be made, it's that legislation because they are legitimately making rules just to go play for a team to manipulate those rules, whereas the rest of the market can't or doesn't fully understand it. By the time the rest of the market catches up, they're already like, oh, I'm going back to the government. You just caught up with the new rules. I'm about to go back in the government and change the rules again. Like, this is absolutely insane, which is why I say it's insane to listen to them to begin with, right? I'm not telling you to break the law or not do anything. I'm just saying it's insane to listen to them to begin with because it's literally changing. It's not objective based, it's super subjective based. It's whoever's in there, however they feel, whatever they want, whatever will help this individual's family or themselves to advance, they're going to do it. It has nothing to do with all these other indicators or factors. And this is what we mean by black swan events. There's no charting. There is no technical analysis. There is nothing that could have prepared you to say, hey, the guy who was just the OCC who left to go work for crypto companies, yeah, well, he's coming back. What does your TA tell you about that? How will the market respond to this, right? I will say it's probably going to respond favorably because that means the games are going to continue to get played. Institutional capital will continue to flow into Bitcoin and crypto, but just know it's probably going to also be some games being played to where it will be anti-retail, right? The small investor won't benefit, but the big fellas and the big institutions will. So remains to be seen, but I think we already know what direction this is going to go. All right, y'all in the comments. Wow, I should never even brought up the idea of my man's having an accident. STL Solo said that bullet not missing this time. LOL, y'all crazy. Let's see. You said, come on, y'all, 250K by December and 500K Bitcoin by MLK Day. MG, you are super positive. But hey, I'm with it, man. You're that bullish. I'm with it. I don't think that will happen, but I've seen crazier stuff. And honestly, when you look at the percentage swing, I mean, what, 100%? We could do 100% in 4 or 5 months. So it's not impossible for sure. Oh, there we go. I was looking, I knew one person was going to come in today. Actually, I thought it was going to be you, Lord, but it looks like it's just inform you. Just inform you. You're about to get a lot of hate from the likes of Jake Fever and the boys and gals in the chat. Just inform you said 90K incoming. Have your buys ready. Hilarious. So just inform you said we're about to take some off the top soon. And again, this is why I'll be back on Monday. We are back in exciting times, exciting times, exciting times. All right. Last couple of stories again. Shout out to Alec for covering this in the Discord. Pump.fun token sale confirmed. Europe-based users have been barred by says Bybit. Bybit will host Pump.fun's Pump token sale, but users in Europe will be excluded due to regulatory restrictions. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be users in every place restricted, but it looks like Bybit has confirmed details of the much-awaited Pump.fun token sale, revealing that users registered through its EU-regulated platform Bybit.eu will not be able to participate, citing compliance with the EU's market and crypto assets regulations. Now, I will say this really quick. I don't trust Bybit to host it. Watch what I say. I don't. I'm smacking the mic. I don't think this will go off without a hitch. I do not. Bybit is shady. I'm telling you now, they're super shady. And you're talking about a popular token. We know what happens when you list them on exchanges. I mean, ICO days were amazing, right? You can wake up, wait in line for some just buy as much as you can. But essentially, is this you get the first tokens, and we all know what happens when you get the first tokens. Oftentimes, there will be a big dip because a lot of people are just going to sell it for capital. But the people who hold, I mean, for most of the tokens after a year or so, they're worth a little bit of something, right? But my thing is this is a big project. A lot of capital is going to be flowing in for this sale. A lot of moves can be made within a short amount of time. What do I mean? Let's say, I don't know, Pump.fun does 100 million in pump token sales, right? And that's a very, very, very conservative number. But let's just say they do 100 million. Bybit could say, all right, we have essentially say 12 to 16 hours to make some plays with this extra 100 million before people may try to sell or move or whatever. So I don't know. My thoughts are I don't trust this to go off without a hitch. Not on Bybit. I hope it does, but I'm not holding my breath for that. The public sale of Pump, the native token of the no code meme coin launch Pump.fun, will open on Saturday, tomorrow at 1400 UTC. Actually, it's tonight for us Americans, actually, and run through Tuesday, according to a Wednesday press release shared with Cointelegraph. A total of, oh, goodness gracious, I said 100 million, a total of 150 billion pump tokens. Those numbers make me cry of laughter, to be honest. A total, if you know market caps and how this works, but whatever, we know how the game's gonna go. A total of 150 billion pump tokens, 15% of the 1 trillion total supply will be offered at a fixed price of 0.004 USDT per token. So I want to be clear about this. We've talked about this before. When I say dumpster dive, take $25, $50 if you don't have a lot of money and go after tokens that are a penny or less, right? This is what dumpster diving looks like. 0.004. I remember when Ripple was 0.008. That was in I want to say 2017 or whatever, maybe even 2016. No, it was 2017 because 2016 was like 0.0008 type of deal. So this is those opportunities again, right? Now, again, this is a trillion total supply. I don't know the total supply of Dogecoin, but to give you an idea, a ton just like this one, which means highly unlikely this thing's going to go to like a buck, at least not overnight. But if something as simple as going from 0.004 to a penny to 1 cent, that is a huge return on investment. So the ROI will be crazy if this thing does any type of numbers. I do believe it will because it's excitement. The only thing that scares me once again is Bybit doing it. Bybit, I'm telling you, can jack this whole thing up. And by the end of the day, you can see this token being 0.0004, if not 0.00004. So that's my only concern about it, is that did they use the right platform to do this? Bybit currently, the world's second largest crypto exchange by trading volume, is the only major platform participating in the sale. The announcement said a number of other exchanges will also support the token sale. And I just want to let you know, they're saying this is the second largest crypto exchange. And if you go to Reddit right now, there are a ton of people saying, I cannot get my money out of Bybit. They're playing dirty games. Don't be surprised if you go in here using a VPN or whatever else to buy Pump.fun. Do not be surprised is if you buy some using a VPN, they let you do it, use capital and all that. The moment you try to take it off the platform, they're going to hit you with, oh yeah, we need to see some ID. We what country you in? And then don't be surprised further if you're in a country that actually can't use that platform, they stonewall you and say, well, can't get your crypto back. You just gave them more Pump.fun capital and tokens, which once again, they're going to spend that 12 to 16 hours to start to flip and trade and do whatever else before you all start going crazy and making posts and calling Cointelegraph. They're going to make their play. So again, hope it goes well. We'll be paying attention, but I am not holding my breath for Bybit to do the right thing when you're talking about at minimum $100 million of volume coming through your platform. They will not do the right thing, people. I'm telling you, I really don't believe they're going to do it. Let's see. It looked like this was followed by a slip on Gate.io. On Tuesday, Gate.io briefly published a page outlining a $600 million pump token sale, which was quickly taken down. That's what the one they were talking about, Bybit. So Bybit is kind of coming out doing this press release, I think, as damage control, but it was actually Gate.io that put it out there. And shout out to Gate. I think Gate right now, you do actually have to have, you have to register and everything. Don't quote me on it, but I have used Gate in the past and they were doing pretty good as well. So, we'll see what happens with that. Again, this is the Pump.fun, Saturday, July 12th, tomorrow. I will say, shout out to Alec for putting that story in the Discord once again. I will say the exciting part about it is that when was the last time essentially we've seen an ICO, right? On an exchange. It's been a while since we've seen a popular token offering on the exchange. So I do expect tomorrow to be full of fun. I expect content creators to cover it live. I remember I used to cover some of these things live. They're super fun to see. I mean, like what the token's going to do as it opens, who's buying. It may be slow for the charting, actually, now I think about it, because they said it's going until Tuesday. So I'm not sure how they're going to actually do it as far as it's trading immediate, or we have charts and graphs go off, or are they going to wait until Tuesday once the sale is officially over before they start doing all that good stuff? But it looks like it has already, oh, this is crazy. Data from DeFi Llama shows Pump.fun has already generated nearly $715 million in revenue. The platform has generated over $35 million over the past month alone. So again, I said 100 million of volume. That is a very conservative number, as stated. 100 million is conservative. And you're essentially, listen, I'm going to tell you what it's like. I'm going to bring it back down to reality. Giving 100 million to Bybit right now is the same as giving Bitcoin's a 10,000. It's gone that quick, and it's gone. Where we at with it? Let me get the it's gonna be one of those things.
Listen up. You didn't lose your money. Now you have your, technically you kind of lost your money.
And it's gone. All right, it's gonna be the same thing as giving Bitcoin Zay your money. It is going to be mother effing gone. So that's my thing about Bybit. I don't trust him as much as I trust that guy, but we see what happens on Saturday to Tuesday for sure. All right, and last but not least, going to give Solana some love because this article, to write this up as an article, Nancy, we're looking at you, Nancy LaBelle. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it alone. Solana price bull chart targets $300 as Solana ETF approval odds hit 99.7%. If you are going to write an article on Cointelegraph saying, hey, approval odds of a Solana ETF is 99.7, I mean, they're essentially saying this is condom odds. All right, we're talking condom odds right now. Okay, Trojan mags, all that. All right, that's what they're talking about right here. They're saying this is safe and secure. Nobody's getting pregnant if you're with us. That's what they're saying. Hopefully it happens. Again, I do think, as I said previously, we will get ETFs for a ton of coins. If this Solana ETF goes through, you have no choice but to allow a lot of other ETFs to eventually come through. So I do think it is definitely possible. But let's just dig into this really quick. Solana price analysts see the altcoin's potential to rally to new all-time highs as a spot Solana ETF is likely to be approved this year. Well, also, Ethereum had an ETF approval, and we didn't see much movement from that. However, I do think there is more I would say movement and action around Solana, as far as it's a lot of Ether maxis who've been kind of just sitting in the wind waiting, whereas Solana has a lot of newer and younger investors, wealth management companies behind it, and they're making moves. They want to see this thing happen. So key takeaways: spot Solana ETF approval odds jumped to 99.7% on Polymarket. The Solana price bull flag is in play on the daily chart, targeting $300. They printed a bull flag pattern on the daily chart, a technical chart formation associated with strong bullish momentum following an upward breakout, or at least somebody has charted it essentially. Could this technical setup, coupled with the likely approval of the spot Solana ETF in 2025, signal the start of a new rally to all-time highs? I would say yes, but not just because of Solana alone. but because it's happening when Bitcoin is pumping simultaneously. That's the main key here. So I don't want to go into the price thing. I mean, to get to $300 right now, it would be huge for Solana. As it says here, they still have to overcome $155 and $165 resistance right now. So just talking about growing that large soon will be kind of crazy. Again, you're looking at essentially a 100% pump right there. Not impossible, especially you who have the ETF. What I'm scrolling for right now is to see how and why Polymarket got these approval odds. I'm not seeing it here yet. What is this? They're talking about the approval odds, but they're mostly talking about this thing going to 300. I want to know. There we go. The likelihood of a U.S. SEC commission approving a spot Solana exchange ETF in 2025 jumped to 99.7 July 2nd, according to Polymarket data. The odds currently stand at 99% at the time of writing, signaling investor confidence in Solana's future and traditional financial markets. And again, if you're one of those people who want to bet adjacent on this and not actually the real thing, I need to get a deal with them. I'm gonna call it Polymarket. Go to Polymarket though, right? If you're saying I don't want to put my money in Solana, I don't want to wait for the ETF, but I want exposure, go to Polymarket, bet on it. Say it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. Bloomberg, here we go. This is what I was looking for. I'm like, what made them think this is going to happen? Multiple spot ETF applications from asset management giants like VanEck, Grayscale, and 21 Shares. Okay. They said that signals robust demand, but they've been had those. So I wouldn't really factor that in. If BlackRock were to come to the party, that'd be different. But Bloomberg senior ETF and analyst James Seifert says he expects a wave of new ETFs in the second half of 2025, placing the Solana ETF odds at 95%. So again, I think Polymarket may, for the most part, begin this percentage from the commentary. Uh, I will say folks like James Seifert has been pretty decent on their how they analyze things and what they see. A lot of it, of course, is coming from insider information, possibly, or information that we're not readily isn't readily available to the public. But so that's kind of interesting to me. Again, to go on Bloomberg and say, hey, this is at like a 95% thing the second half of the year. That's crazy to see. I will say again, if you remember toward the beginning of this year, when we had the first ETF cycle, I said they didn't push it through then. It could either happen the end of this year, third or fourth quarter, or the beginning of next year. So with him saying that, it kind of falls in line there as well. It looks like he's signaling for this year. So yeah, I mean, whoo, and that's the 150K by January 1st right there. If they do an October, November Solana ETF or any other or a basket of ETFs, I mean, you're looking at 150K on January. The scary part is, right? We already got the president in. That was the last pump. The scary part will be I would say January 16th to March, April-ish until the next conference. You might see a crazy dip. It might be a crazy dip unless they're going to continue to build. That is some time away. Right now, we're keying in on next week for Crypto Week. We're going to be keying in on those 3 legislative bills that are in the House, in the Senate, on the presidential desk, or whatever. We're going to key in on those. We're going to see what happens. But mark my words, in 10 days, we'll have more direction. I will see you all next week on Monday. Possible interview on Tuesday. So we'll see about that. I got somebody on standby right now. We're trying to work out the details. And I don't. I'm not gonna tease it yet because I don't want to. Just in case it doesn't happen. Another possible big interview toward the end of this month, beginning of next month, from a political party. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens. But yes, a lot of great movement. I will see you on Monday. It's exciting times. We're back. News cycle's back, baby. And I don't know. I'm very excited. I think next week there will be some hitches. It won't go off without a hitch. There will be some anger. Somebody has to lose next week for sure, right? So, like, there will be people losing next week, either federal government or states, the Federal Reserve or the central bank, right? Or regular bank. Like, there will be some losses happening next week, which means there will be volatility in the market, which also means there will be money to be made. Smash that like and share, and I will see you then Monday, 7 a.m. ish, with some more crypto news. Cheers.